Hello everyone, my name is Wayne.
And I'm Rebecca.
And we are your Bourbon Journey.
Welcome to episode 21 of Bourbon Trail Tales and Tastes. Today we are visiting Independence, Kentucky, where we went to Boone County Distilling on November 6th of 2022 and earned our 21st stamp on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail. We also earned our very first coin back in the day. I guess now for another month you can still get these, but back in the day it was divided into 4 areas, and every time you finished an area you got a very hefty, nice challenge coin to go on a smaller stage. So that was pretty fun. As we were leaving Old Pogue, this was our way out of town, so to speak, and it's on 71 South as you're leaving the Covington, Newport area by Cincinnati. So we had another visit and it was pretty good. So let's talk a little bit about some of our memories from that day, from being on the trail. So I like to call that the tales from the trail. What tales do you have, Wayne?
Well, it's one of the few, maybe the only one, that was in an industrial park.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of turn off this main boulevard, and if you've been there, forgive me, because you kind of know, but if you haven't, you turn off the freeway and you don't go very far off the freeway, maybe a quarter mile, half mile, something like that. You come to a light, make a right, and you're driving, and normally you if you're going to a distillery, you know what the view is. Big building, stacked, smokestacks and stuff. So industrial park, we got business in here, and then we keep driving. I'm thinking, oh no, and all of a sudden on the corner we get up there, here it is, boom. Cool. Pull up. It's actually a nice little facility. I really like it. It's very pretty.
Yeah, we went there very recently after we did our Northern Kentucky trip because we wanted to stop in there again. We hadn't been there since 2022, and they have a lot more stuff in there since we were in there last time, but it was a great stop. We won't digress into that. We're going to talk about our first visit, but this one we actually did a tour. And because we always try to do that on the trail for our first visit, at least we would try to get a tour and tasting. Sometimes we would have to do it on our second or third visit, we'd get our tour, but this is one we managed to get it on the very first time we visited. And it was kind of interesting because we were wondering as we went there, because all over their website and on some of their bottles it says, made by ghosts, the bourbon of ghosts, the distillery of ghosts. And we were like, what the heck are they talking about? So do you recall what it was about?
Not really. I don't. I know when I kept reading this ghost, I'm thinking ghosts, spirits. All right, well, obviously the spirits must be bourbon of some type. And I don't even remember if they actually got into, is the place haunted?
It's not.
It's not.
No, I mean, that's not what it's about, though. I'm just going to say, I do recall that it was that. The brand was originally from 1833. At the time, they call the Ghosts, if you go on their website, it has a page you can go to that's called The Ghosts. And it's really just their history. It's the people that were involved making the brand way back in the 1800s and how it progressed. This person bought it, and then this person bought it from them, and then it went here, and then it did that. At some point in time, and I don't remember all their history, excuse me, but they became Kentucky Distillery number 8. Now, does that number sound familiar to anyone? Who has DSP number 8?
Four Roses.
Four Roses does. So they were unable, when they went out of business back in 1910, I believe it was, the town started drying up, the shipping market wasn't as good for where they were, and all that kind of stuff, and they went out of business even before Prohibition. So this is not one that went out during Prohibition, but they call the people that started as the Ghosts because back in the day when it was DSP 8 originally, they were the largest producing distillery in the state of Kentucky. So that's just kind of crazy when you think about it. So one of the ways that I recall they keep the 8 alive is every one of their proof points is 0.8. So if it would be 100, it would be 100.8. This one we're going to drink in a bit is 94.8. So they keep their 8 alive. They have it in some of they have 8 kind of hidden in some of the things they do. It's even on the background if you look really closely on the labels and stuff. But they were, of course, with Four Roses having it, because they came back in 2015 and Four Roses already had it by then. So that's kind of an interesting story, but there's no ghost really. So
No, but I know that they would really like to get their 8 back, and I have a feeling that what they're really trying to do is get the spirits go out the 4 roses and haunt the number and scare them to give it back. I mean, I don't know. I could be, Brent Elliott. Anyway,
keep an eye out. Just watch out for those ghosts.
Woo.
But it's not a huge facility. I mean, it has a couple different buildings, but you're right in front where you walk into the gift shop and kind of the welcome center, so to speak. They have a little tasting there and things like that, and their bottles for sale. But then you can really see, because they have a glass wall where you can see back where production is happening. And so you just pretty much walk through that doorway, and we had a tour. And they go through that history I kind of just explained. I had to go refresh myself on their website today, to be perfectly honest. It's been 2.5 years.
Yep.
But that's what they talked about as we went through. They have a 500-gallon copper pot still, which is pretty big. They're definitely a pot still operation. And they call it the Bear.
Bar.
Yeah, so that's, I guess, because he's got a big belly on him or something like that. But so they went through their grain process and how they make their spirits. And back then, this was the only bottle they were selling that they made themselves. We purposely tried to buy the one thing. They had some moonshine-ish kind of things and some bourbon creams that they made. But this was the only bourbon they had at that time that they were making. Now, when we made our most recent visit in March, they have numerous things that are their distillation and everything else that they did and has had time to age now. So, and they were outstanding.
Yes, they actually, they have if you have an opportunity to go there, I would suggest it, because they have a very unique lineup. We found things there that we have not seen anywhere on the Bourbon Trail and or even in liquor stores.
Especially the chicory one.
Yes.
There's one finished in chicory. So chicory is a kind of coffee, right? So it's very interesting. I think we also bought the one that's finished in their maple.
Yes.
Really good, not overly sweet or anything like that. That's why I wanted to try. So I want to make sure it wasn't overly sweet. But again, we're digressing. But I'm just saying they've come a long way, even in 2.5 years. So now it's all their own stuff that's there, and they have reserves that are a little bit older and things of that nature. So definitely give them a try. After we went through the whole distillation process, and again, this is our 26th distillery at that point in time, so we kind of understood what the process was. But we always try to listen for things a little bit different. The fact they're pot stilling is great. They are a sour mash operation, so some of the pot still distillers really like to stay with sweet mash, but they are sour mash. We went outside and crossed over to another building, and that's where they have their rick house, so to speak. So, do you remember anything about that? Or
it was very different than your traditional rick houses, because they're basically, you go into these wood structures. This was metal. Well,
it's like a pole barn. Basically it's a metal building, and even their ricks, so to speak, were metal.
Yeah,
everything was metal. But we were thinking this might have been something that was palletized, and they were sitting upright, but they were laying on their sides.
Yes.
So we double checked the pictures on that today, and just to make sure we had our facts straight. So it isn't palletized, but it is on metal ricks. So that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, and I think they've done a lot with the space that they have. Yeah, and so after we did that, we went to the rick house, looked around, then we came out, and I think at that time we also got to see them bottling, because they were putting labels on bottles, and we happened to get there at the time they were doing this.
Yeah, they have a small bottling line. Some of the smaller distilleries outsource that, but they actually have their own bottling line. It's very hand intensive. They're putting the labels on themselves. They're doing the cork. They're doing the seal. But we got to watch that for a little bit before we went into the tasting room.
Yep,
which was very interesting.
We wandered into the tasting room, which was off to the left of the main room, and did our 4 sample tasting. Do you remember what some of the things were?
Well, only because I cheated and looked, but one of them was like a white dog.
Yes, that I remember.
And then another one was an older bourbon that had been sourced, which was very good, but again, we chose not to purchase that one. The other one was their pot still one, and we thought it was good, so that's why we bought it that day. I'll be honest, we just opened it for the first time. So we've had it 2.5 years. It's got a fresh crack, and we have not tasted it. And then the last one was a bourbon cream. So they had a pretty wide offering. So I got a kick out of it. I thought it was cool, and it was really nice to revisit them. And ironically, we were working on a second book of the Bourbon Trail, which, again, the Bourbon Trail is kind of ending their book stamping at the end of June. And Wayne thought it'd be fun to do, since he was really into bourbon now, thought it'd be fun to do a whole book of his own. And we were kind of really working on it, and then we found out that most places don't have coins anymore, and you have to send off for them, and there's all these other rules. So anyway, but he got a coin there.
So, and I want to give a shout out. I wish I could remember the gentleman's name, but we walked in, and I brought in my book and had it stamped, and I mentioned once again, I guess you're going to give me a piece of paper. I got to thought, no, we're not going to do that. The guy goes and pulls one out, and he goes, here, congratulations.
We got a picture with him.
Yes,
yeah,
got a picture with him.
I may pull that from this recent trip to share.
This is the one time where we both got a coin from the same place, finished the same thing.
And it was the first coin we each got.
Yes, and so it'll never happen again. After all that talking and selling the place, should we go ahead and try this bourbon?
I'm excited to do so. Let's tell you a little bit about it first, and then we'll dive right in. So this is by Boone County Distilling. It is called the Boone County Kentucky Pot Still Bourbon. And by the way, this is batch 2. Would have been really cool if we had batch 1, but this is batch 2. I have no idea what batch they're on now. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon whiskey made by Boone County Distilling Company. Its mash bill is 74% corn, 21% rye, and 5% malted barley. Right on the label, it tells you it was distilled in spring of 2016 and then bottled in fall of 2022. So it's 5.5 years old. Its proof is 94.8. As we told you, it would always have a 0.8. Again, released in fall of 22. It is a sour mash made on a 500-gallon copper pot still. We purchased it that day, which is November 6, 2022, for $49.99. And like we found it a couple of times on this journey of going back and visiting things here, we had never opened it until today. So we're quite excited about that.
So it's been 2.5 years since we actually have tried this bourbon.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So let's check her out. It does have some age at 5.5 years. And again, they reestablished in 2015. So this is made their first year, 2016. Probably batch 1 would have been 2015.
It's got a rim.
It's trying to make some legs. It's got this rim forming on it, and now I've got little pearls forming. So it's coming along. Let's check out the nose.
Okay.
Get cinnamon first off.
Cinnamon, maybe brown sugar. Cinnamon's the lead.
A hint of, cinnamon leaves maybe a hint of caramel.
Gosh, I almost want to say there's a tad bit of honey. There's a sweetness in there.
Yeah, and maybe a slight nuttiness.
I really want to try this.
It's been waiting 2.5 years to be going our mouths. So cheers to Boone County. Let's check her out.
Cheers, Boone County. Cheers.
Nutty definitely comes through right away on that one. It's got a real nice nuttiness.
Cinnamon.
It's not as sweet as I thought it was sweeter on the nose than it is on the palate.
The sweet notes that I was getting on the nose are not in the palate. It's
like a dark caramel because it's not real sweet. The nuttiness, now that I've tasted, it's really nutty on the nose for me now too. I mean, if I hadn't just read the mash bill, I'd swear it had a little wheat in it, but it doesn't.
It must be the nuttiness. There's something there's something a little confusing to me with it. I'm not saying it's bad.
I'm not minding this. Would it be a daily drinker? Probably not, but it's got so many nice notes. I mean, I do like the sweetness on the nose, and then it turns a little more savory on the palate. It's got, like, again, this nuttiness. It's almost like a peanut turtle kind of thing. So I'm getting a really dark chocolate kind of note with the peanut. It's like a peanut covered in dark caramel with dark chocolate. So it's all those really dark notes. Nothing milky or light or sweet, but it's those dark kind of candy notes is what I'm getting on it.
Okay.
And cinnamon. I mean, the cinnamon is just there. If we were to get into the finish, that's probably where the cinnamon is going to be really prevalent. Yeah, cinnamon, maybe on the finish it's cinnamon, maybe a hint of white pepper. I think it's got a pretty medium finish for something that's 94.8 proof. So it's not super proofy.
Oh, interesting. Okay. But
go ahead.
I was going to say, for whatever reason, it wasn't. I know you said it, but it wasn't dawning on me about it being 94.8 proof. It doesn't taste 94.
No.
Actually, I think it drinks hotter than 94.
Well, I don't think it drinks hotter. I think it has more flavor than you anticipate.
I think it drinks hotter. This drinks closer to what we warmed up with, which was 100.
Which is 100. We warmed up for the bottle and bond, so
Yes.
100 proof. So it's, I don't think it drinks hot in any way, shape, or form. But it definitely, it's lots of times with the lower proof, I don't feel it's got, this doesn't have a super silky mouthfeel. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The viscosity is fine. And I think if it had a little bit more viscosity, it is 5.5 years old, but it's probably got proof down to being the 94.8, because we know they're always going to play with it to get to that 0.8.
Right.
And so that probably takes, when you add water, it reduces the viscosity and sometimes reduces the finish, at least for my palate. And I think it's doing that a bit, but it doesn't lack flavor. So I want to be clear about that. And also, sometimes the things that are lower, like I'm saying in the 80s, this is 94.8, they almost get too ethanol-ish because they've taken out all the flavor notes by watering it down. This still has all these flavor notes. So again, I got caramel, I got dark chocolate, I got some nuttiness going on, cinnamon. So I'm getting a nice flavor profile. It's just that the finish is probably more medium for me, with little hints of cinnamon.
I am really not getting much, but I will say this: I really, really love the nose on this one. This is one of the few times that I could actually sit on this for quite a while and just smell it. It's there's a lot going on with the nose. I'm so bummed that it's not translating to my palate.
Well, and here's what it does for me. The nose, it's interesting because I get the same flavor profile in the nose as the palate, but it goes from sweet to savory. So I have like the caramel and the nuttiness on the nose, but it's very sweet and bright. And then I taste it and it becomes darker, which is interesting for something 5.5 years. I expect that more for something that's like more in the 10-year range to be able to have those darker notes. Yeah.
The nuttiness for me is walnut. Because
it's got almost a bitter hint.
There's a little bit, because a walnut is a savory nut, and I kept thinking it's not peanut to me, and I think it's a walnut.
And it was a good price point at $50 when you're on the trail and you're trying to find the souvenir bottle to bring home with you, looking for something that's made there, and it's $50. I think that's a good price point for this.
And probably if we were, I don't know if I would buy a second one of this, but if the same circumstances happened, I would probably buy this again, because I really like getting an idea of what the distiller is going to do with their own stuff.
But I would, if it were 2.5 years ago and I knew what I know now, I would probably buy it again.
Yeah. And to wrap this, we'd really like to encourage all of you out there to go ahead and take a tour over there or stop by, because they have some unique stuff and it's very good.
So how you find this place? So it is basically right off the I-71 freeway. So if you're coming from Louisville traveling north, the first thing you're going to get to is Neely Family Distillery. Make sure you stop there. And then you go a little bit further up north, about 40 minutes, and you will come to Boone. So you go take your little exit and you go to Boone. And then you're basically maybe 10, 15 minutes to Newport, Covington area. So it's very convenient. Sometimes we typically will hit Neely's on the way north, and then on the way back we can stop at Boone. But it's an easy stop to make, and I would do it.
So we really encourage you, whether you are heading into Covington or you are leaving Covington, to stop by Boone and try what they have. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's unique.
I think you'll find something you enjoy.
Yeah, and it's unique.
And if you're not into bourbon, they have the bourbon creams and stuff too, and they have some flavored moonshine things. So they have a wide range of things that fit just about every palate.
And they have a very polite staff.
Yeah, the staff is terrific.
So with that, with all the blabbing we've done, cheers, Boone. I really do hope you get number 8 back, but I don't think you will.
Just keep hiding it on your labels.
Just keep putting it all over wherever, and and send the spirits over to the current owner of number 8. Anyway, cheers to all of you out there. Thank you for watching this. If you like what we have said, please hit the subscribe button. Always remember to drink responsibly. Cheers and have a great day. Cheers.